swamped, and it's showtime from downtown Winnipeg. His pass, a shot, they score! Scheifele, Connor, scores! What a stop by Hellebuck! Nikolaj Ehlers off the faceoff!
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Welcome to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. We're joined here on the pod by Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton and 680 CJOB's Paul Edmonds. We got a great show for you today. Pierre-Luc Dubois is our guest, and great timing with that one as he scored a big goal against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the third period to seal a 7-4 victory. So look forward to hearing from him. We got lots to talk about. Of course, Mitch will give his week in review. Paul Edmonds is going to talk about Mark Scheifele's recent hot play. The shorthanded success that the Jets are having. Mitchell will touch on that. Nikolaj Ehlers made his return this week. We'll touch on that as well. And then in the back half after the Dubois interview, we'll talk about the week ahead and the challenge of staying in the fight to the bitter end in the hopes for a playoff spot. But Mitch, we'll start with you, of course. The Winnipeg Jets sit 7 points back in the wild card race. But if you look at the last block of games, they've got points in 4 of their last 5 and 6 of their last 8. They came off a really big win at home against the Tampa Bay Lightning, like I mentioned earlier. And then they've had some wild games and a not so fun one to rehash against the Rangers. But I'll leave it to you to go back and look back at the weekend that we had.
Yeah, to kind of bookend the week. Really, I mean, you had the 2 games against the Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Those games were eerily similar in that the Jets got up to just sensational starts in both of those, and only to have the opposition come back. Now, the Montreal game was kind of weird in that it was Winnipeg 4, Montreal nothing, and then it was 4-4, and then it finished 8-4. The Tampa Bay game, the Jets got up 2-0 early. Tampa makes it 2-1. Jets make it 3-1. By the end of the first period, it's 3-3. So in either case, you had a team coming back. But I thought what the Jets did well in both of those games was just they had the ability to kind of reset themselves. Like the first period against the Tampa Bay Lightning was wild. It was back and forth. There were chances all over the place. And then in the second period, the Jets outshoot Tampa 11-4 and really didn't allow a whole lot. And I felt that really kind of settled the game down for the Jets. And then you got into the third period, they make do on a power play, as you mentioned, with Pierre-Luc Dubois scoring there. Then Kyle Connor scores just like a sensational shorthanded goal, taking advantage of an errant pass in the neutral zone. And, I think we talked leading into that game about how a big win like that can be, a galvanizing moment for this team. You get the 2-time Stanley Cup champs coming in, and if you're able to beat them in regulation, that, can send some strong vibes throughout the dressing room. And I think that hopefully that's what happens as the Jets head out on the road for 3 of the next 4. But yeah, over the course of the road trip, yeah, you would have liked to have a different result against the Rangers. Igor Shesterkin, I think, came as advertised in that one. The Jets get 46 shots on goal. He stops 45 of them. I think they would have liked to get a little bit more traffic, but there just wasn't a whole lot of second chance opportunities in that game because Shesterkin seemed to swallow up absolutely everything. The heartbreaker, I think, was the overtime loss to Dallas, just because once again, the Jets had a couple of opportunities before Dallas ultimately ends up putting in the overtime winners. So the 3 overtime losses that the Jets have to the Dallas Stars this season, in all 3 of them, they had really, really good chances to win the game in overtime. And, in the first 2, it was Jake Ottinger keeping them out, and then it was Braden Holtby in the one on Friday. So those ones are always tough, but I think to end a homestand with a 2-1-1 record, and Paul and I kind of talked about this a little bit on the pregame show heading into the Tampa Bay game. If you're able to get a win out of that one, you get 5 out of 8 points. It's a pretty good clip. You have to get a little bit better in terms of points percentage to get yourself into a playoff spot, but it's a good start for the Jets at the start of March, and they're going to be able to hopefully carry that into this 3-game road trip coming up.
Paul, let's talk about Mark Scheifele's play this season, recently anyway. He had 4 points against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He had a 3-point night against the Montreal Canadiens. Things just seem to be clicking for him a little bit better than they were in the front half of the season. Just what have you liked about Mark Scheifele's play, and what's allowing him and that line to have some success this recent stretch?
Well, there's no question. I think that he feels some pressure to perform, and most players in his situation as leaders and top point producers for years do. They understand that. But for Mark, I mean, the start of the season didn't exactly get off to a consistent start for him for various reasons. Number one, he was suspended for the first game, a carryover from that Montreal series, and that hit on Jake Evans. And then he gets COVID. And then, there's this stop and start nature to the season, certainly around that Christmas break. And then now you get into a situation where, okay, you need your best players because you're on the outside looking in. And I think Mark Scheifele has said all the right things and then has put his money where his mouth is and tried to lead this team offensively and deliver the points necessary for them to put up goals so that they can win games. There's always going to be the criticism of Mark about the way he plays in his own zone, but there are times when you see Mark come back and make good defensive plays. Sometimes I think that when you have offensive players, you're always striving for that 200-foot game and that they've got to be as good in one end as they are on the other. Well, there's only a certain number of guys that can really do that at that level. Mark's still trying to get there. He's now late 20s, but still, I think Mark is always working on his game, but he's an offensive player. And when you can put up points like he has, and he's nearing the point where he's at a point per game pace once again, and he's just slightly off that. And I would dare say, Tyler and Mitchell, that he's going to get there again based on his recent play. And if he does, that's 6 straight years where he has been a point per game player. Sometimes when you get those types of players, you'll give a little bit on the defensive side to get more on the offensive side. What you need to do is surround him with guys that can play a little bit more or be more adept on the defensive side. And certainly I think Paul Stastny is that player on the left side, and Blake Wheeler, as we saw in that game against Tampa, can come back and really help out defensively. Mark has stepped up his game, to be succinct. There's no question about it. He's had to. Like I said, he's felt some pressure. He's talked about what they need to do. He's gone out and tried to deliver it. And I think that if Mark Scheifele continues to drive the way he has with 25 games remaining as we do this podcast on the schedule for the Winnipeg Jets, that they might just make a little bit of noise getting back toward that line and maybe getting past that playoff line. Because quite frankly, if Mark doesn't drive the offense here and the Jets don't have two lines going with that Dubois line and the Scheifele line, then it will be a miss for the playoffs this year, despite where they are right now. If Mark continues to play where he is and as well as he has, complementing that Dubois line and vice versa, then the Winnipeg Jets are going to have a chance. But I think Mark has certainly played his best hockey of note recently than overall this season. If that continues in the remaining 25 games, I think Winnipeg will have a good chance to at least make this interesting right to the end.
Mitch, the special teams have been a topic of conversation for the Winnipeg Jets, specifically the penalty kill. If you look at it with a broad stroke, obviously they sit 20th in the National Hockey League, but I think it's no surprise that if you look back since January 1st, they sit in 5th and seemingly have a scoring opportunity on almost all of their penalty kills as of late, including Kyle Connor with a shorthanded goal. Adam Lowry has a breakaway seemingly every night with one man down. So just what types of things are they doing right now that's allowing success on that penalty kill?
I'll do you even one better in terms of your statistical analysis.
Oh, okay.
If you go back to December 17th, they're at they're 4th in the National Hockey League on the penalty kill since that date. But either way, whether it's January 1st or it's December 17th, I mean, it's just been sensational, the turnaround. And so much of it, and I think Kyle Connor referenced it after the game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, just the fact that, you go back to the game against the Seattle Kraken in Seattle. Jets win that one 3-0, but there was a shift in how the Winnipeg Jets played on the penalty kill that night. It was all about be more aggressive, force teams to make decisions, because if you're the power play and, you get an easy entry and then the penalty kill just kind of sits back and lets you kind of work it around and tries to, take away lanes and all that kind of stuff, like it can work. It certainly can. But what makes it more difficult, and Kyle Connor kind of referenced this one as well, is if you're pressured to make a decision constantly when you have the puck on the power play, more often than not, sometimes you're going to bobble it. And when that bobble happens, the Jets are all over it. They've been able to create those turnovers and get it sent down the ice. And pressuring players to make a decision, this leads to why Adam Lowry's been getting, all these shorthanded breakaway opportunities or 2-on-1s with Dominic Toninato or Andrew Kopp, whoever he's out with. It just kind of comes down to the fact that they're in the opposition's face. So, a defenseman gets a puck at the blue line and Adam Lowry is within stick length. I mean, Lowry's got great reach to start with, but he's also such a defensively responsible player. He knows kind of exactly how to play that situation, how to play it aggressively, but not to get himself out of position. And then if you force that bobble or turn the puck back the other way, now Lowry, and this is probably what has stood out to me the most over the last little bit when he's been getting all these breakaways, and he's got, I think it's 5 goals in his last 9 games or so. It just seems his first 3-4 strides have been so quick that he's been able to, force that turnover, get the puck going the other way, and then he's gone. He's able to, get past whatever defender is in his way and then get down the ice and start to create an opportunity back the other way. Now, these breakaways are not necessarily what you're looking for all the time as plan A. Plan A is just, force that turnover, get the puck down the ice. But, if you're able to, create these opportunities for yourself, now all of a sudden the penalty kill, job number 1, of course, is to kill the penalty. But if you're able to get some offensive chances out of it, all of a sudden, it's creating some momentum. There were a few times over the course of this homestand that the Winnipeg Jets would be killing a penalty. They'd get an offensive chance, and then, the crowd would get into it. You know what I mean? Like they would kind of get on their feet a little bit, and that creates some momentum off of a penalty kill, which is huge for the Jets. Of course, you keep the Tampa Bay Lightning power play off the board. Sure, they created some chances. I mean, they're great players. They're going to do that. But the Jets created some shorthanded chances of their own, obviously culminating with the Kyle Connor shorthanded goal in the third period that ultimately proved to be the game winner. So the penalty kill has really been an asset for them. But to quote Adam Lowry, I'm going to do the one thing that I can only do, and that's knock on wood, because to quote him, he said, "Don't jinx us." So trying not to do that.
Nikolaj Ehlers made his return to the lineup after being out with the lower body injury for about 6 weeks. Finds himself on a 3-game point streak, 3 points over that span, a goal and 2 assists. What have you seen from the young Dane since his return?
Well, you could just tell as it was leading up to him getting onto the ice in the contact jersey or non-contact jersey, and then that got removed, and then he was ready for contact in practice. And then the day that 3 games ago they pronounced him ready to go, he was champing at the bit to get back on the ice. And what we've seen is the dynamic player that Nikolaj Ehlers is, with his puck handling and skating ability. And as you mentioned, Tyler, 3 straight games with a point, and he's added points to a team that desperately needed offense. I mean, when you look at the Winnipeg Jets, the amount of goals for this year, goals against is going to be quite around the neighborhood of where they've been the last little while. So nothing's really fallen off or overly and overtly kind of improved from that standpoint. But the goals for, boy, if they keep on the pace that they've been on, they're going to be in around that 2015-2016 mark. And from that standpoint, I mean, that's a team that didn't make the playoffs. So you get Nikolaj Ehlers back into your lineup, and it gives you 3 solid lines, Dubois, Scheifele line, and now the Lowry line. And the Lowry line is now your checking line. You feel very comfortable in line matchups if you're interim head coach Dave Lowry about who you put out there against the other team's best. And if you want to match Dubois, great. If you want to match Scheifele, okay. If you're on the road and you have the Lowry line out there, you're okay with that as well. But also the layer that Nikolaj Ehlers provides on that line is that quick transition and the ability to turn what is, I guess, characterized rightly or wrongly as a checking line into an offensive line. And that just, I really think, gives the Winnipeg Jets that quick strike offense that they have required all season. They missed Nikolaj for those 19 games. There's no doubt about it. The other thing that I think that Nikolaj really does, and this is important to the overall game structure of how Dave Lowry wants this team to play. Ever since he took over for Paul Maurice, he has talked about net front coverage, getting the puck toward the net, getting bodies toward the net, and just creating the chaos, because it all starts net front, both in your own zone and then certainly to score goals in the offensive zone. For Nikolaj Ehlers, despite the fact that he's only played 37 games to this point, and he has 28 points, 14 goals in that time, he is third overall on the team in shots on goal, which means that when the puck is on Nikolaj's stick, plays do not die in the offensive zone. That puck usually gets toward the net. And that's important when you have a big body like Mitchell was talking about in Adam Lowry, the way he has all of a sudden found the score sheet. He's driving, he's using his skating ability and his size to get toward the net. I think that's important to the overall way the Winnipeg Jets want to play. And Nikolaj Ehlers really adds to that in a large degree for the Winnipeg Jets to play that way by him getting the puck to the net. So he's been a valuable asset and addition again back to the Winnipeg Jets lineup. From that standpoint, I think, you're just looking for this team to remain healthy on the forward core, because for the last 3 games, for the most part, they haven't really been that way all season. There's been stops and starts and hurdles and bumps in the road when it comes to COVID and health overall of the team with injuries. Well, now all of a sudden you're seeing the Winnipeg Jets finish a road trip, or pardon me, a homestand before they go on a road trip, with Nikolaj Ehlers back in the lineup and points in 2 of those 3, but also points now in 3 of the 4 on the homestand. And Nikolaj Ehlers has been a direct result of that. And Winnipeg needs that going into this road trip coming up to the East Coast and then St. Louis, as they continue to try to strive for a playoff spot. He's been very dynamic, but we should expect nothing less in his return.
All right, now it's that time for our interview with Pierre-Luc Dubois. Lots of topics covered, including his 2 dogs, Georgia and Philip. We get an update on those 2. We talk about his game this season and just what's been working for him alongside Kyle Connor and Evgeny Svechnikov. Lots in this great about 12-minute conversation. Enjoy.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Hi, this is Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Joined here by Pierre-Luc Dubois on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Pierre-Luc, we haven't chatted with you on the pod since you joined the Winnipeg Jets last year, and I asked you about your 2 dogs, Georgia and Phil. How are they doing?
It's a complicated story.
No.
Phil's with my sister now. He had anxiety issues. He's living his best life right now. He gets to go to work with my sister every morning. He has his. My sister works in an office with her boss and 3 other employees. They all love dogs, so he has his bed there, his bones, and the whole building. They all know who Phil is. So he's got his picture on the website, on the company website. He's like the assistant to the president or something. So he's living his best life. Georgia, she's as clueless as ever. Tumbled down the stairs yesterday, she got right back up, sprinted upstairs, and so she's always good. Doesn't even matter where she is.
So was Phil just having some issues being alone at home, or?
Yeah. When I'd leave, he'd have hunger strikes, and
no.
It just got to a point where for him, a vet told me, we can put him on like antidepressants or something, and he's a dog and he's 2 years old. I thought, okay, there's definitely a better option, and my sister wanted a dog. He's an unbelievable dog, so she's lucky to have him.
Okay, well, I'm glad he's doing well and he's on the mend. Switching to hockey stuff now, last week you mentioned that you made some changes to your game, and I'm not expecting you to tell us what changes, but were they new things, or was it something that you've done in the past and you kind of went back to the well type of deal, or just how does it come about to make a change, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's new concepts. I'm somebody who I like to learn, not just in hockey but in life, but I think that to expect different results and do the same things over and over again, you're kind of a fool. So I like to try new things, talk to new people, visit new concepts, new ideas of how you can change your game. I mean, I've said this before when I was younger, 19, but I've said this when I got in the league. I don't want to be the same player at 19 than I am at 28. And I think I'm a different player than when I first got into the league, but I want to be a different player when I'm, in my prime than right now. So for me, it's just talking to me. I mean, that it's not even like a secret. I wanted to work with somebody that I've heard great things about, and the concepts that we've been talking about, the video and everything, I think has led to kind of a new aspect to my game that once I get more and more comfortable with, I could get closer and closer to the player I want to become.
Dave has put a huge emphasis on getting to the net, and you seem to be sort of embodying that. Is that sort of the key to success for you, or what sorts of things you have to be doing on a night in, night out basis that lets you reflect on the game and go, okay, I had a good game tonight, regardless of the results, but obviously results are the main thing.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things, every player is different, right? There's some players that if they don't score, have an assist, they had a bad game. I never wanted to be that player. Yeah. I wanted to be able to have a bigger impact than that. There's games that you're not necessarily going to have a goal or an assist, but you'll have dominated when you're on the ice. And I think bringing the puck to the net is just one of many ways you can impact a game. When you're out there, especially playoffs time, the game gets tighter, more physical. It's a best-of-7 series, so you might play them 7 nights in a row. So it's all about who's going to give up first, who's going to get tired first, and give that extra inch that leads to a goal. And going to the net is tiring. It's tiring to defend against. So I think it is a part of my game, but I think it's a way that if you have a shift where you go to the net, bring pucks to the net, the other team has to defend for 20 to 30 seconds. Maybe they don't have energy to go back the other way, and maybe they just chip it out, go change, and you go change, and nothing happened. But you put your teammates in a situation where they're attacking and they're not defending to start the shift.
You've been playing with Casey and Yevgeny. Just what's it been like to sort of be reunited with those two, and just what types of things are you doing well that's giving you some good results right now?
Yeah, I think that everybody on the line brings something different to the table, and I think Casey, I've said it before, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the NHL, and I'm not even sure how many goals he's at. I stopped counting, but he's
33 now.
Yeah, he's one of those players that can score from anywhere in any situation. And Svech is a smart player. He helps me a lot on the forecheck in the corners in front of the net. He's seems to always be at the right place at the right time. Know exactly where to put the puck, and it's sometimes it looks simple, but there's a skill to it all. And I've known him since I was 16, and it's always been enjoyable, or it's always been fun to play with him.
It seems like he's kind of been charting his own course here. He started great, and then things necessarily weren't working for him, and now he's getting to figure things out again with you guys. It's just kind of been fun or interesting just to watch him sort of become his own player here.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch and be a part of. And like I said, I've known him since he was 16. He was kind of my big brother when I played in Cape Breton, and he's had an up and down career. Since he's been drafted, he's had injuries. Yep. He's played games in the NHL and the AHL, won the Calder Cup in the AHL. But I think that for any player, it's hard to not know exactly where your job is and what your job is, and where you stand. It's hard to be, you're playing maybe on an offensive line, but you don't have the leash to
right.
And then you make a mistake, and then you're back down, and then you start. It's not easy. I know we're all pros, and our job is to be the best we can be, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings with emotions too. So for him to start the year off really well, and then to just keep going now, I think he's a better player than he was at the beginning of the year. And I think that the more he gets comfortable, the more he gets confident. I see it day by day just talking to him. I think he is a really important player to this team.
Team success, obviously, like I said earlier, trumps all the individual success. But for you, obviously, you didn't have the year you wanted last year, and we've talked about that at length, and you don't want to talk about it. But just does it feel good to have put together a consistent year this season up to this point, and just know that we know what kind of Pierre-Luc Dubois we're going to get on a night-in, night-out basis?
Yeah. It's funny to revisit last year because it just wasn't who I am.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that didn't know me, after the trade started paying more attention to me, and then, they saw what they saw last year, and that's a picture that they painted of me. But anybody who's watched me play or known me for at least since I've been in the NHL knows that what kind of player I am, what I can do, and what I can do out there. And like I said, I want to keep growing year by year. I don't want to be the same player in 2 years than I am right now. I don't want to be the same player at the end of the year than I am at the start of the year. I want to be better and better, and it's easier said than done. But I think that for me, I'm still getting started. I'm still young. I still have a lot of things to learn from the guys in here, from everybody. So it's fun. I'm not going to say to even just or play well, but it's fun to do what I know I can do and what I could do last year that just unfortunately didn't happen.
The team has had some adversity the last number of weeks, and I think some of your leadership skills have come through just based on your media availabilities. Just what does being a good leader mean to you, and just where do you get some of those qualities, and how do you build on that moving forward in your career?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to play with some pretty good leaders in my career. It's not like I've been playing for 20 years, but I've been lucky enough to be around great teammates and great players and great leaders, and I think it comes in all sorts of forms. There's guys that are more vocal. There's guys that do their thing, and just you watch them, and watching them do their thing is what motivates you. But I think one thing that's always stuck with me is that words are great, but actions speak louder than words, and you can say all the right things and you can say all the right things, but at the end of the day, if you don't go out there and do them, and it's kind of pointless. And I think that's one of the things that's easy to see. So to go out there and compete and want to win every game, I think that's the best kind of leadership. And you have to do it on a Tuesday night, even if you're tired and all banged up and bruised. And on a Saturday night, it might be easier, but you have to do it all the time.
I don't know if we've ever asked you this, but did you have a favorite player growing up?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of bounced around. I liked Claude Giroux when I was a kid, Jamie Benn, Sean Couturier, his dad and my dad are pretty close friends. So when he was playing junior, I liked him, and then he got drafted, so he kind of became one of my favorite players. But I'd say those three guys are probably a mix of who my favorite players were.
It's got to be pretty cool then to play against those guys. I mean, you're so young. Like, all the guys that you would have grown up idolizing are still in the game. Just what's that like?
Yeah, it is special. It is fun just to play against them. I remember my first couple games against them. It was kind of like you're living a dream.
Yep.
It takes a while for you to fully understand that you're playing in the NHL against these players, but now I think it's still pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie, it's still pretty fun to play against these guys, but it's not as nerve-wracking as the first couple of times.
Last one for you. Back earlier in the season, Nate Schmidt was doing a little content piece with us for the gala, and he asked you about exotic meats. Have you found yourself an exotic meat dealer here in the city, or where are you at with that process?
That's a loaded question. Yeah, I've found we have a couple guys that hunt on the team.
Okay.
I'm not that big on hunting, but I am big on eating and cooking. So I found a few guys that will support my needs.
Okay.
Yeah, my freezer's packed full of meat. I'll be good for the winter, and then when the hunting season comes, I'll be looking for a refill. But for now, I'm good.
So is it all deer and fish, or what else do you have?
No, I say exotic meats because I think it's funny, but it's pretty much all deer. It's pretty much all deer. I had some goose.
Okay.
I mean, I love trying new things, so I eat anything. So whatever is ethically correct, I'll give it a try.
What's the go-to dish that you would make with deer? I've never cooked with deer, so I wouldn't know.
Probably chili. I love chili.
Yeah.
It's easy. put in the pressure cooker or the crock pot. There's a few recipes. What else? I mean, for breakfast, honestly, I can eat anything at any point of the day. You know, like there's some people, it's like, why are you eating this in the morning? To me, I can eat anything in the morning, anything at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I think chili is my go-to meal for that.
Pierre, thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Winnipeg Jets fans, did you know that online 50-50 tickets presented by PlayNow.com are available for all Winnipeg Jets games? That's right. Whether the Jets play on the road or at home, you can participate in the game day 50-50 draw. The winner will take home half of the jackpot, with all proceeds in support of the True North Youth Foundation. Remember to buy your tickets on all Jets game days at winnipegjets.com/50-50.
Thanks for listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. We continue on with the podcast alongside Mitchell and Paul. Mitch, the Winnipeg Jets head out on the road for a 3-game trip, as we've mentioned. The New Jersey Devils and the New York Islanders are the first 2 teams up for the Jets. A back-to-back Thursday and Friday. And then on Sunday at 6 p.m., the Jets take on the St. Louis Blues, who the Jets seem to have had their number so far this year. So just what are you expecting to see on this road trip, and what types of things can allow them to get some success and get things going downhill in order to chase that playoff spot?
Well, the main thing is I think you can't take for granted who you're going up against. Like, yeah, sure, the New Jersey Devils are a team that currently, sits outside the playoff picture in the Eastern Conference. They're 24 points back of the second wild card spot. So clearly, they're not necessarily looking at a postseason berth, but this is also the same team that the same night that the Winnipeg Jets were beating the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New Jersey Devils fell behind 3-0 to the Colorado Avalanche, and then came back and scored 5 unanswered and beat them 5-3. They became the first team, I believe, this season to come back against the Colorado Avalanche and win a hockey game. So sure, the New Jersey Devils are a team that gives up goals. Their goal differential this season is -29, but they're also a team that can score. So they've got 176 goals for this season, and that's right in and around a number of the teams that are in the postseason in the Eastern Conference. So they're a team that can score. And then, the last time that they were here in Winnipeg earlier this season, the final score was 8-4. So clearly, there's going to be some offense that night, but I think the Winnipeg Jets have to almost take what they did in the second and third period against the Tampa Bay Lightning, play that defensively sound game and generate off of that, get your second chance opportunities and do what you can from there. So the Devils have won a couple of consecutive games, so that's not an easy one. Then the next day you go in, new facility. That's going to be an exciting part of the road trip when you play the New York Islanders. Also outside of the postseason picture currently in the Eastern Conference, but I think the weird thing with the Islanders is like a -15 goal differential. There's just, you think of them as this defensively solid hockey team that, things haven't gone their way so far this season. They're got losing records at home and away. And they lost their last time out too. So you want to make sure that you kind of keep your game consistent as you go against a couple of teams that are outside of the playoff picture. And then, like you mentioned, you go up against the St. Louis Blues, team that's currently sitting second in the Central Division. They're 19-7-2 at home, but like you mentioned, the Jets have kind of had their number this year. They've won 2 of 3 against St. Louis. You'd love to make it 3 of 4, and you would be able to take another, Central Divisional series away from someone that's in your division. So obviously a lot to take in when it comes to this road trip, and certainly some opportunities to pick up some points. You got to think the Winnipeg Jets want to get this road trip off to a good start, string some wins together, and keep this run of points in 4 of 5, as you mentioned, going, because the more games that you're able to get points out of, the more chances you have to kind of chip away at that deficit in the wild card race, which, as you mentioned, sits at 7 points as we record this podcast. And the 2 teams that are in the wild card spots, Nashville and Dallas, have a game in hand over Winnipeg. So you want to make sure that you're making hay with every single outing that you have, and at the same time improve that road record, which for the Winnipeg Jets currently sits at 10-11-8.
Paul, lots of talk, obviously, about just the challenge that lies ahead, and they're 7 points back of the playoff spot right now. It looks daunting, but just from a mental perspective, how difficult is this part of the season where this group hasn't necessarily had to be in this position before. A lot of the times, they go up against these desperate hockey clubs in past seasons because they've been in the playoff spot and the focus is about rounding out their game, not necessarily chasing that playoff spot just to get into the dance. Now they're on the opposite side of the spectrum. So just what's that mental challenge like as they try and stay engaged here to the bitter end?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, in the appropriate word, the operative word is daunting, but you can't necessarily keep looking at the standings, and you can't necessarily look at the out-of-town scoreboard. As Dave Lowry said, we can't wake up in the morning to see if we've got any help. We have to take care of what we can that day. And the belief system gets stronger with each subsequent win. So after a game like the 7-4 win over Tampa, you feel pretty good about yourself. Well, now you want to carry that over into a game against New Jersey. You beat New Jersey, maybe you reduce that deficit to 5 or to 6, depending on which team, and you get a little bit of help on the out-of-town scoreboard. You're not necessarily relying on it, but if you get it, great. And now you pulled that team or those teams in a little closer to you. Okay, let's get to the next game. The Islanders, the next game after that. Let's see if we can garner a point there and get a little bit more help. This is the most important road trip of the regular season for the Winnipeg Jets, because I think that this road trip will determine whether they are going to be buyers or sellers at the deadline on the 21st. We're inside of 2 weeks before that NHL trade deadline on the 21st. This road trip will determine which direction the Winnipeg Jets go. You don't have to get all 7 or 8 points back on this road trip. Quite frankly, it's impossible. But if you can cut it to 5 or 4, then you still have enough runway, in my opinion, and you've done enough to tell management, hey, let's either remain status quo, or if you can go pick up a piece to help us, let's do that here and let's see where we get to. Otherwise, it's a sell-off of assets. But with each game that you play, did you get a point or 2, and 2 is really optimal right now as well, you start to have more of a belief system. And we've heard from the Winnipeg Jets time and time again in the last couple of weeks that they need to get on a roll. Well, they played pretty well in the homestand, 2-1-1. Now you're going on to a road trip where I think there's some winnable games there for sure, as Mitchell detailed. And if you can start to kind of grind out those wins and grind out points, you'll feel better about yourself. And all of a sudden now you got points in 5 straight, or you won 3 or 4 in a row, and you get a little bit closer to where you need to get to and hopscotch over a couple teams that are in front of you, like Vancouver or maybe Edmonton. The other thing for the Winnipeg Jets here over the next little while is you only have 2 games against a team that you might be chasing for a wild card spot, and that is Vegas, and you have them both at home. So if you're still in the mix at that point, you still have some meaningful games against teams in the Western Conference. So I think the belief system starts to grow with each subsequent win. In saying that, I also know that despite the fact that Blake Wheeler talked about the youngness of their team the other day, and I think he wasn't necessarily talking about the age overall of their team, but just game experience when it comes to the overall makeup of the Jets. Jansen Harkins under 100 games. You've got Evgeny Svechnikov still under 100 games in his career. Dominic Toninato just went over 100 games this year, and he's into his late 20s. That's sort of what he was talking about, being young. But the foundation, the group of this team that's been here for a long time, the core, knows how to win. And I think that if it's going to happen for them, it needs to come from that group, which we've seen over the course of the last couple of games. And while it might seem like it's pie in the sky right now for a lot of people for the Jets, all you can do is literally, cliche, I know, take it one game at a time and worry about that night. If you get 2 points, you get a little bit of help on the out-of-town scoreboard, you still have a lot of runway to try to make up the ground. And maybe you've saved the best for last in your season. Let's see what happens.
Great analysis, as always, Mitchell and Paul. Thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast. You guys have a plane to go catch as you head to Newark to start this road trip. I will not be in attendance for this one. I will be staying home and doing, I don't know what, but chores. Yes,
there will be chores.
Yeah, there'll be some things done around the house, I think. Also, little thing to update the fans on. We have our guest set for next week already. The interview hasn't been done yet, but and I won't say who it is, but let's just say a former Jets 2.0 tough guy is going to join us here on the podcast. And it's not Chris Thorburn. We've had Chris Thorburn on the show before, but another 2.0 Jets tough guy is going to join us, and we're going to see what he's up to. And apparently he's looking to become I'll call a first responder. I won't give it away, but anyway, look forward to that. On behalf of myself, Tyler Escobar, Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, 680 CJOB's Paul Edmonds, and of course, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. We'll talk to you next week.
This is Big Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.
Proceed when able.